Hello dear children. So today I am with you all for the second lecture for force and Newton's laws of motion. In the first lecture we have discussed about balanced and unbalanced forces. Now we are going to discuss about Newton's first law of motion. But before going to Newton's first law of motion, we will discuss about a very important observation by a scientist called Galileo, which makes Newton discover this Newton's first law of motion. So let's discuss first what were the observation, what was Galileo experiment. Okay. So now Galileo, what he observed, I'm just drawing a diagram and we're taking different cases. This is the case number 1. You can mention here. This is the first one. So in this, what he did, he used one inclined plane, and then on the other side he was using like this, and here was one ball which was released from a height h. This was the height h, and what he observed, when he released the ball from this point, when the ball was coming to here and then moving this side and then coming to rest after reaching the same height h, right? And that was the d1 was the distance which it covered while going up, right? And theta is the angle, that is theta 1. We assume that theta 1 is the angle between the ground and this side, slanting side, having theta 1. Okay. Then this is the case number 1. Then he take another case. He kept this side same. There is no difference on that side. Right? So ball was released from this point like this. This is the height h. When the ball was released from here, now what he did, he just reduced this theta 1. Earlier the slanting was more, now he reduced this theta 1, that means decreased, that means slanting come here. Like this. Right, this is theta 2, that is the angle. Now what he observed, again the observation was same, the body or the ball was reaching the same height, h. And this is the another distance which is covered, but what was his observation? He measured this, or you can see from the diagram that these two are different. That means if here theta 2 is less than theta 1 and then d2 will be greater than d1. That means in that case the ball was covering more distance as compared to the case number 1. That was the observation in the second case. Now he did one more case in which again he used the same ball, released from the same height, and then reduce this angle theta 2 to further. Like we can say he reduced like this. This is theta 2. Now the ball was released from this point, which is at again same height h from the ground. When the ball was released, we observe the ball reaches here, attaining the same height h, right? But here again we observe this is d3. Now here in that case, this is case number 3, theta 3, this is theta 3. Theta 3 is less than theta 2 and d3 is greater than d2. d3 is greater than d2. That means as he was going to decrease the angle, he was reducing the angle, and what he was observing the ball is reaching the same height, then comes to rest and then start coming back, but the ball was covering more distance in each case. So finally what he said, if I take this slanting height to 0 angle, in spite of this theta 3, suppose this is 75, 65, 45, and keeping on decreasing. Then finally, he said if slanting ice is like this and the ball is released from this side H again, right? This is case number 4. So what he said and what you observe, that means we know that in all the cases the ball was coming to rest until or unless it will not attain the same height from which it was released. But in that case, the surface is flat. That means the ball will never come to rest because it will never attain its height. This is Galileo's observation. So he says that the ball will never come to rest if the surface is flat. But we know that there must be a force which can stop that ball. That was the force of friction. So the ball comes to rest after covering some distance. So what he said that force is required, whether to move a body or to stop a body. Right? If he said if you can reduce the friction from this surface, the ball will never come to rest because there is no force, no external force which is acting on that object, on that ball. Right? So this was the experiment performed by Galileo, which we can say pushed Newton to formulate his Newton's first law of motion. Right? Now we are going to define Newton's first law of motion because Newton observed Galileo's experiment and he described his first law. Now after observing Galileo's experiment, Newton gave his first law of motion. He said that a body at rest will remain at rest. That means if we are not applying any force, the body will remain at rest. And a body in uniform motion we know that the meaning of uniform motion, right, will continue to move in a straight line with constant speed right? It will not, the speed of the body will not be affected until and unless external unbalanced force is applied on it. Until and unless some external force is applied on it. That was Newton's first law of motion. Very simple. As I gave you the example, simple example, I explained Newton's first law of motion with the help of a 4 or 5 years of child doing the activity. Now, Newton's first law of motion is very, very important. That means without the unbalanced force. So here the force you must write unbalanced. Because we know that I told you the unbalanced force only changes the state of motion. Right? So this is the first law of motion. It says that body is at rest, remains at rest until or unless an external force is not applied. Now the property, there must be a property of the body to resist any change. There is a property of that body due to which it's not changing its motion or rest position. That property is known as the inertia. So what we call property of body to resist any change is termed as inertia. We call it inertia. Inertia means it is the inability of the body to resist any change in its state. Right? That is known as inertia. Inability of the body. Now, if This is a plastic bottle, right? It contains water. If I want to flick this bottle by keeping here, like if I want to flick, I can't. I want to flick, I can't. And if it is empty, little bit water is present. If it is empty, I would be requiring less force. If it is full of water, then it will resist. It will oppose that force. I am applying the force. It will oppose that force because it wants to remain at rest. That is inertia, right? But if it is empty, then if I am applying less force, it will move. Why? Because of mass. There is another quantity, physical quantity on which it depends. So inertia depends on mass. Please keep in mind this, that inertia depends upon mass. Large mass, large inertia. Depends upon mass. More mass, more inertia. This is the meaning of inertia. More mass, more inertia. Right? Now you can see this property. The property by which a body is not allowing to any force to change its state, whether it's rest or motion. So this property and Newton's first law of motion looks same. So what we can say, Newton's first law of motion is also known as law of inertia. Newton's first law of motion is also known as law of inertia. Because both have same meaning. And one more very important thing, that is, we know that force is required to move a body, force is required to stop a body, that is said by Newton's first law. So Newton's first law defines force. You can say Newton's first law of motion defines force. Right? Now we are going to discuss about some types of inertia. These are inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. I am going to explain these one by one. Inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. So if I talk about inertia of rest says that a body tries to remain at rest. If it is at rest, it will not resist any change. So let's discuss these inertia of rest, motion and direction one by one. Okay, so now let's discuss inertia of rest, motion and inertia of direction one by one. So what is inertia of rest? Inertia of rest is tendency of a body the tendency of a body, right, to change or to oppose any change in state of rest. Of a body to oppose any change in its state of rest. This is known as inertia of rest. Right? Now, what we can say that a body tries to remain, if it is at rest, it will not change its position. I will show you one activity. With the help of one activity, I will explain you. So here is a glass, empty glass I am having, right? And I am having one card. I am keeping this card and a 10 rupees coin. Using this 10 rupees coin to keep it on that surface, right? So the coin is at rest. According to inertia of rest, the coin will try to remain at rest. If I am applying the force, it will oppose that change, right? So if I will flick that card, you just observe what happens. So I am flicking that card and you have to give a immediate flick. So this is a flick and the card goes, but the coin is here in the glass. So why this is? Because of inertia of rest. I am using 10 rupees coin. What happens if I use 25 paise coin or very lighter coin to this? Because I am using this because it's having more mass. It's easy for this. Otherwise, if I am using the lighter coin, then what will happen? The coin will move along with the card. So that's why we are using more mass body which is having more mass, right? So it shows that also that inertia depends upon mass. Okay, so we can write the examples. You might have observed when a bus starts, immediately, just within a second it starts. When a bus starts suddenly from rest, when a bus starts suddenly from rest, we fall in backward direction. So why we fall in backward direction? Suppose we are sitting in the bus, or region below the waist is in direct contact with the bus and the upper portion is free. So when the bus starts, our region below the waist comes to in motion, but the upper portion tries to remain at rest due to inertia of rest and we fall backward, right? So this is one example. Another example we can take with this simple duster. This is the duster. So I am striking this duster. You can see the dust is coming out. Same happens with the carpet which we are having at home. So why dust coming out? Because of inertia of rest. When I strike the duster with the scale, so the duster comes in motion, but the dust particles which are present in the duster, they fell down, right, due to inertia of rest. So what I can write? When we strike or when we hit the carpet with a stick, then dust falls down, right? This is another example due to inertia of rest. Same way, when we shake the branches of the tree, the leaves fell down. Why? Because on shaking the branches of the tree, the branch comes in motion, but due to inertia of rest, the leaves try to remain at rest and they fell down. On shaking the branches of tree, the leaves fell down. So dear children, these are the examples of inertia of rest. You can visualize the surroundings, you can just observe the surroundings and try to find out more examples of inertia of rest. We are going to discuss about inertia of motion. So inertia of motion says that this is tendency of a body to oppose any change in its state of motion, right? As we are discussing about inertia of motion, so it will resist any change in its state of motion, right? Or it is the inability of the body to change its speed on its own. So let's discuss the example. I am taking the example of bus only. Now, when the moving bus stops or the driver applies the brake suddenly, what happens? We fall forward. Why? Same explanation, due to inertia of motion. We are sitting in the bus, the region below the waist is in contact with the bus, but the region above the waist is not in direct contact. So it tries to remain in motion due to inertia of motion and we fall forward. So we can write it down. When a bus stops suddenly, we fall in forward direction. We fall in forward direction. This is very common example, right? Same way, it is always advised, it is dangerous to jump out of moving bus, because when we jump out of moving bus, what happens? Our feet in direct contact with the land and they come to rest, but our upper portion of the body will try to remain in motion. That's why we fall forward. Yeah, we fall forward, right? But our body is still in motion and hence we fall down on the. It's dangerous moving out of moving bus because our feet come to rest. Feet come to rest on touching the ground. Whereas upper portion tries to be in motion. Due to this, we fall on the ground. So there are a number of examples for explanation of inertia of motion that you can observe and write it your own, and you will share it with me. Okay. Then last but not the least is inertia of direction. For inertia of direction, we know that the definition: tendency of a body to oppose any change in the direction of motion. So this is tendency of a body to oppose any change in its state of direction. Which direction? State of motion of direction, you can say, right? State of direction of motion, right? Now there are examples for this inertia of direction also. When a bus or a car takes a sharp turn, then we fall towards the doors, towards the windows of the car, of the bus. Why? Because of inertia of motion. We are sitting in the car, and car is going in a straight line, and the moment comes when the driver takes a sharp turn, lower portion is in direct contact, it will change its direction, but the upper portion tries to remain in straight direction. That's why we fall towards the doors or the windows of the car, right? So when a car or bus takes a sharp turn, we tend to fall outwards. We tend to fall outwards, right? One more example which is very common, that is the mud guards. You might have seen the rotating wheels throw out the mud, right? If any, tangentially due to inertia of direction. Mud guards are used in bicycles, in bikes. Mud guards through mud. If there is mud on the ground, if any, that's why I am writing. The mud guards of the bicycle, mud guards of the bike, they the mud. Not mud guards, the wheels. Mud guard actually protect us. So wheels through mud, if any, because rotating wheel through the mud in the tangential direction. Tangentially. Right? Mud wheels through mud tangentially due to inertia of direction, and mud guards are used to protect the person from the mud. Right? So these are the examples of inertia of direction. So I hope, dear children, this video will be definitely going to help you out to understand Newton's first law of motion and inertia, and how the inertia depends upon mass. Thank you so much for watching that video.